Throughout the night. There are a lot of questions about this crash, including some legal ones for people who ride on balloons like this. Attorney Brad Bonilla joins us now live in our newsroom. Brad, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
What kind of responsibility do balloon companies have when an accident like this happens?
Well, I think they're going to have a responsibility for the safety of every person that rides on the balloon. It's a very, very important responsibility when you're flying very high up in the air.
A lot of them do have insurance, and a lot of times people say they sign waivers. Does that clear them from any liability?
No, I don't think it'll clear them from liability. Certainly you have two possibilities here. You have the possibility of maybe operator error, then you also have the possibility of a possible product defect, like the burner or the fuel source malfunctioning causing this to happen. In either event, I still think there would be legal liability against the company that's operating the balloon.
Brad, I know 2 years ago the Federal Aviation Administration suggested imposing some greater restrictions and oversight on these commercial air balloon companies. There are not a lot of accidents that happen like this. This, in fact, one of the deadliest here in the U.S. Do you think something like this changes the minds of federal regulators when it comes to these companies and looking closer at those? Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I think in a lot of industries where there are very few accidents, it takes a catastrophic incident like this to have regulators wake up and say, hey, we need more rules, we need more regulations to keep tragedies like this from happening.
So what is the takeaway? If I'm at home and I see something like this, I may be less likely to take a balloon ride. Are there things that we can do to maybe keep ourselves safer?
Well, I think in a situation like this, it all comes down to an assumption of risk. Any person that goes on a hot air balloon ride or on a parachuting out of an airplane knows that, you know, it is going to be dangerous being up in the sky, and you have to decide if you're willing to put your life in someone else's hands.
There are a lot of investigators. We saw some video there as you were talking of investigators out on the scene trying to piece together some evidence. How do they preserve the evidence in a situation like this?
Well, I think the NTSB will take the lead in preserving the evidence, but certainly I imagine at some point there'll be the private sector that comes in, whether it's the balloon manufacturer or the manufacturer of the fuel source or the burner used. And they'll want to figure out, also kind of coordinate with the NTSB to make sure that nobody's missing any pieces, because certainly the people that build the balloons and the people that build the burners, you know, they have a lot of valuable insight that the NTSB maybe doesn't have, because this is such a rare situation.
Yeah, these investigations can take years, I know, from the NTSB, so we'll continue to follow this. Brad Bonilla, we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much for coming in on Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll be back after this.